Are you happy yet from the results last night? Are you sad yet from the results last night? Has it really, really altered your life? I don't know. We're about to find out. We got P Dawg Knight in studio with us tonight. It's time for Aquarian Anarchy 2022 election recap. Let's get it. Of course, our quote for tonight is from the one and only Emma Goldman, because why not? Politicians promise you heaven before the election and give you hell after. Ain't that the truth, gentlemen? Marty, P Dawg Knight, welcome, my brother.
What's up? Nice to see y'all, and looking forward to this.
Yeah, this is gonna be fun.
I'm gonna actually move us around a little bit now that we're so that Marty's name can be seen.
All right, I'm gonna tilt.
And I'll let you move yourself.
Okay.
Hey, there we go. Yeah. AKA P Dawg Knight. Yes, indeed. All right, so let's break it down. You and I were sharing some screen time last night with a whole bunch of folks: Hotep Jesus, Sonny Johnson, Jeff Charles, Olivia, Patriot J. Who else was in there? Mo Fax. Did you get any sleep last night?
I did. I went to bed. But I got up at 3 for work. Central time, so 4 Eastern time. And I was checking my phone before I went in, and I was trying to see if anyone was still on. And the only person, well, there's 2 people on, but one was stream sniping. The other was, you know who Triologic is?
Yes.
She was on still, and she was on Charlie Kirk's stream.
Oh, really?
Just giving him the business because they were still worried about results in Arizona, which I haven't seen. Have they updated that since it was 70%?
Not that I saw.
No, I saw the most recent one that I saw was still not any different. Yeah, we're still at Kelly with 51.2 and Masters with 46.6. Now I did see something where Mukhtar had shared something where they showed a model that showed that Masters was going to win, the probability, his confidence interval, the logical mean was going to be greater than that for Kelly. And then 5 minutes later, it switched back.
Okay.
And so it was oh, okay. What are y'all doing with the numbers over there? So I don't know, but it's 80,000 votes between the two of them. 935K to 852K.
Okay, and I'm looking at the governor's race. It's with 73% in. It's the difference is under 4,000.
Oh wow!
And
so is that what you were talking about, the governor's race?
Both. I was
okay.
Yeah, one can see the other.
Yeah, because I'm kind of assuming Lake is going to come back and win this one. I was looking more at the Senate thing, because the Senate race to me is more consequential, at least to me, if there's any consequence to this stuff at all. I don't know.
You know what my opinion is? These are just criminals. Like I said this morning, do you want the murderer who might also rob your kids, or do you want the thief who might also kill your kids? Which one do you want?
Right.
Well, you got to be careful, because now we have the other ones that they might diddle your kids. So
what I've seen is they're all busy doing that.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. But so I want to. All right, let's just jump right into it, because this is chapping my hide at the moment, and I need to share this with the folks. So I'm going to, just as an experiment, before I go where I'm actually going on this, I want to share this poll that I made first. So here it is, Marty. I'm going to give you an opportunity to answer this poll.
Okay.
Choose your fighter. You get to choose. It's either Liz Cheney, Nancy Pelosi, or Thomas Massie. Which one you taking? You got to choose one of them: Liz Cheney, Nancy Pelosi, or Thomas Massie.
Well, my fighter. Choose my fighter. Well, it depends on who
Well,
I'm fighting.
not fighting, like not
know,
like fist
James.
fighting, but like
I know.
these are Congress, these are U.S. representatives or former representatives in the case of Liz Cheney.
Sure.
Pick which one you want to fight for you in Congress.
Well, it seems like Massey would be the choice, even though, I mean, he has some baggage, but he also he's been right about a few things that nobody else was.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm trying to remember. There was one time back when he was like the lone wolf, might have been on COVID shit.
Yeah, it probably was.
Where he was the lone wolf going, well, at least in the House.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, and look, what he has proven to me is even when everyone else is against him, he's going to stick to his principle, whatever that is. Even if I don't agree with it, at least I know he's going to stick to a principle, which, you know, Pelosi's about power, and Liz Cheney, I don't know what the fuck she is. She's
all right. So who you picking? So we can move on to the next segment of this topic.
Okay, Thomas Massey.
All right, Thomas Massey. Congratulations, Marty. You have just ensured that Nancy Pelosi is going to be elected. It's your fault. It's your fault that Liz Cheney didn't beat Nancy Pelosi. So now we are stuck with Nancy Pelosi because of you. So that's what you get for choosing the person that you thought was best. You don't get to choose who you think is best. You have to choose one of the two at the top of the list. You have to choose between Liz Cheney and Nancy Pelosi. And if you don't, and you choose the person who's the best one on the list, it's your fault that one of the other people on the list lost. This is what we as libertarians get all the time. It was just a thought. It was a thought experiment that I wanted to use to demonstrate a point to people who have been saying all day that it's libertarians' fault that Herschel Walker didn't beat Raphael Warnock when and what was the other one? It was Shane Hazel didn't have any impact on. I'm trying to remember what the other one was. Oh, it was the Fetterman race, the Fetterman Oz race. And so my point was like, well, maybe Dr. Oz and Herschel Walker are awful candidates. And maybe you should do a better job of having better candidates. And secondly, who are you to think that those votes that went for these other candidates belong to one of those other candidates? You know, like, is it automatic that like if I say I want to vote for Shane Hazel, that I should have voted for Kemp instead?
I see what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
so
there's this entitlement mentality that people have with this stuff.
And I think you're 100% right. I don't think people should vote just because, you know, I think you vote for you want to. Now, might be an argument for what is that shit they do in Alaska? Ranked choice voting.
Yeah, ranked choice voting.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But I just wish people would see that there are other people out there. Because, you know, wait, what's the dude who ran against Mike Lee in Utah? What's that guy's name? That used to be a Republican. Now he's kind of a guy.
I don't know. I wasn't familiar with who was running against Mike Lee.
What's his name? Here, I can find it.
I'm thinking John Huntsman, but it's not him.
No, it's that other. The hell's? Oh, they don't have it on here. Why don't they have that on here?
See, Mike Lee's another one of them that I might think about voting for. I wouldn't, but I think about it.
Evan McMullen, that's who I'm talking about.
Evan McMullen,
yeah. Now he's an independent, and he was apparently there was no Democrat in that race. Interesting. I don't know how they do that in Utah. How there's
Louisiana. Louisiana's the same way, Marty. Like Louisiana has an open primary system for statewide races and like local and parish races. So what happens is anybody can run. You just have to, you meet the requirements or whatever, but you can have like 7 Democrats and 3 Republicans run for governor.
Okay. Similar
to what they have like in California, where it's like this open primary system. And if somebody gets 50+1% of the vote, they automatically win. If no one gets 50%, it goes to a runoff.
Okay.
And then the runoff is the top 2 and everyone else is eliminated. And so then you get to see out of those 2. So that's what we were talking about with like the Georgia race, except Georgia, unlike those states, you can only have one person from each party. And then it's just, which parties are going to be, and it's always going to be the Republican and Democrat parties go into the runoff. Whereas in Louisiana, we've had several where it's 2 Democrats or 2 Republicans in the runoff. And so then it's just which one do you want, you know?
Right. No, I've seen, that's definitely how California. Apparently that's how they do it in Utah too. So in Louisiana though, so if someone gets 50% in the primary, they automatically win?
Yeah, that's it. It's over.
Oh,
yeah, because you won. Yeah, I mean you won. The point with it going to a runoff is that no one won yet.
Right.
No one has gotten the majority yet. So you have it's let the people. To me, all these things have flaws, but it makes sense to me if we're going to go with this democracy majority rule thing. It doesn't make any sense for someone like in the presidential races that we've had in the past, where like Bill Clinton won the presidency with 42% of the vote when he, now granted you had it's an electoral college system and it's a different set of rules. So, but he was still winning. He was winning states without like a full actual majority. He only had a plurality, even in some of the states where he took delegates. So it makes it to where, at least in these statewide races, it makes more sense.
All right.
So that's why they do it that way. But
back to your point. So in your example, let's not even using it. Let's use the real world example where it's Herschel Walker, Warnock, and what's the libertarian?
Chase Oliver, and he's a leftist libertarian who I would have my misgivings. I'd have to like really, really think about it. If it was those 3 candidates, who would I want? I'd probably still take Chase Oliver, but I'd just not vote. Like I'd just be like, yeah, y'all got this. I'm tapping out because he's not a libertarian. I would necessarily want to support. So.
Right. Well, your vote is part of the process, though. Your non-vote is part of the process. You can make that choice. And I hate the idea that people bitch at people who don't vote. Because I don't want people to vote just because you have to. I don't want people who have no idea what they're doing voting. You know, if you don't know what the hell you're talking about, don't vote. That's fine. Or if you don't care, don't vote, and let the people who understand the process vote. Problem is, and I'm, this with the way we're so entrenched in the 2-party system, your example is right. I don't think people should have to vote for one of the parties of the lesser 2 evil. I mean, if maybe the lesser of 2 evils maybe should be a better candidate, like you said. I think Herschel Walker. I never understood why the guy with the funny hair wanted him to be a candidate. I have no idea. There's people down in Georgia, that there's got to be at least one other Republican in Georgia that could have ran for that Senate. There's got to be.
We know some.
Where the hell did Trump come up with Dr. Oz? Trump is. And look, I was happy as Trump as a president for the most part. He did some dumb shit too, but the reason I did vote for him the first time and I voted for him the second time because I thought, despite his jackassery, his actual accomplishments were in line with what I wanted from the president. So the legislation, for the most part, was what I was in line with it. But in this case, his being so enamored with celebrity,
yes,
and thinking maybe I think he thinks that's why he won.
He thinks everybody's going to be like him, and it's a name recognition thing.
And and I was pleasantly surprised with Herschel's debate with Warnock. Even though he might as well, from a style standpoint, he might as well be John Fetterman, but not that bad.
No, right. And not as bad as Fetterman.
And he did articulate certain things that I go, oh, okay, he's smarter than I thought. Because I'm thinking of like Jimmy Kimmel doing a Charles Barkley skit. That's what I was expecting.
Well, he's had some moments that would make you think that, right? Like where he's not had his wits about him or something. But yeah, you're right. Like he's not an idiot. I just think he's like, from a charisma and like public speaking standpoint, it's a struggle. And like unfortunately, we live in a world where that shit's like really important to people when they're watching this shit.
Yeah. And while I'm watching one of Warnock's like closing video speeches, whatever, and they got the music going and he's doing this soaring speech and whatever. And I'm like, man, I don't even know how Herschel got near half the vote.
Right.
Just because even if you don't like Warnock, damn, listening to him is like listening to a very solemn sermon on Easter, you know?
No, that was one of the things about Obama. Like I would listen to Obama in like 08 and 12 or like throughout, you know, his presidency too, but in the campaign seasons. And I was just like, damn, man, like I gotta shake my head a little bit because he almost got me motivated to go vote for him. Like, you know, like the charisma and the oratory skills, and the writing, like what's the guy's name? It's the same as the guy who's Happy Hogan in the Iron Man movies. John Favreau. John Favreau. So it's not the same guy, but they have the same name. But his name is John Favreau, was Obama's speechwriter. Apparently he's like a brilliant speechwriter because that shit was like on fire every time, and it was hard to not get sucked up into it, like it was Grima Worm Tongue or something.
Right, but that's the power that Barack Obama brought to the table, because I when he was the keynote speaker, I think it was when Kerry was the tool that they put out in charge. He was the keynote or the main speaker.
the 04 presidential, the Democratic National Convention.
Correct.
Gave that purple speech.
I was like, okay, this is the next guy they're running. Yeah. I knew right then and there.
Until now, I was that way, especially in the 2004 speech, right? That was really good. And then some of his campaigning speech, until I figured out how stuck he was to that teleprompter. I started to notice it, and then I would watch his speeches just looking at him. Very good inflection, all that stuff. But then I realized that he has 3 teleprompters that he's using, and so when he's looking around and he was glued, his eyes were glued to it. I never realized how bad that was.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh shit, he's just reading the damn speech. He's not.
But when
he's really good at that though.
Like when you compare it to JoJo's out there talking all kinds of shit, dude.
Well, listen, Joe.
Every time he goes off script, the White House staff is going, shit, get it again.
Yeah, that and Fetterman with his closed captioning system struggles and everything. Like it's tough. But so I want to say this though about we're talking about all these different candidates that they run out there, and you were asking about like that specific example and Chase Oliver versus those 2 guys, right? So Chase Oliver being a left-leaning libertarian, like who has actually like defended some of the stuff with like the rainbow stuff in the schools for kids and stuff. I'm sorry, but like he was not stealing votes from Herschel Walker.
Right.
No.
People were not voting for him. And they were like, you know what? It was either him or Herschel Walker. And I just went ahead with him because, I want to talk about my partner with kids in kindergarten. No, that's not that. This is and the other thing is too, a lot of times as libertarians, Marcus can tell you, like he's said it a couple of times here. I might go vote for Mike Lee. I would go vote for Thomas Massey. I would not go vote for Rand Paul. Like these are the things that Marcus has said. So like if someone runs and it's, let's say I move to Indiana and I run and Marcus goes and votes for me, for someone to say you stole a vote from my favorite Indiana Republican because you voted for Chad, Marcus is like, no, dumbass, I wouldn't have even gotten out of bed if it wasn't for Chad. Right. You know what I'm saying? So like some of this stuff is just, it's complete horseshit. And so that's why I want to bring this, because this is the perfect segue into this one, which shout out to Eric July, because he's the one who posted this one. And man, I wish I could have just, well, here it is. So it says Republicans, am I out of touch running dog shit candidates? And then Oh shit! Wait, now I can't
Got it.
scroll. There we go. All right, now I scroll. It's just no. It's the libertarians that are the problem. Like this is the logic that they have. Like, no, listen, you ran Dr. Oz and Herschel Walker.
Right.
Because you focus grouped instead of actually like
and
going to your bench of like, hey, we have these people who've actually been doing work. They've been grinding in the grassroots and they know people and they're connected. No, let's go get the guy from TV who's Oprah's friend, and then let's go get a running back from the 1980s.
But they didn't focus group. That's just it. Trump liked those guys, and unfortunately, Trump's very popular. Not unfortunately, but Trump's popularity pulled those people through. There was no focus group.
Okay, I'll grant you that. It was a one-man focus group. It was The Apprentice.
Would have said, "Oh hell no."
Yeah.
You know, they'd have come up with someone else. And I wish, in some ways, that rather than trying to be kingmaker, Trump would have sat back and actually listened to people on the ground in those places going, well, what do you think? Here's this group that we got. This is what we think. And Trump going, oh, okay, then let's go help them win. And, you know, because he blew that in Georgia in 2018, or right? Isn't that where, or not, whenever they had the runoff?
Right.
You know, he didn't instead of he had a hissy fit about 2020 and then told people not to even go vote in the runoff,
right,
rather than going out and trying to win that seat,
right.
And you know, he's the reason we're 50-50 in my mind, because they could have won both of those races with Ossoff and Warnock, and then we wouldn't be having this race now. You know, Warnock might have come back and try to do it again, but there would be two Republican senators. I think I blame Trump for that. I think I too with the Georgia, you know, with Kemp and the Secretary of State Raffensperger or whatever. That didn't help.
I think that, though, you kind of hit on what part of Trump's problem is. Now, I don't like Trump because he's a flag-loving statist. I mean, he's just hugging on the flag. I get it. He's not going to be my candidate. But what really, aside from some personality stuff, the things that I don't like about Trump, you hit on, and that is he is a centralizer. He likes to centralize power. He likes to bring power into one himself. You know, he is not decentralized. He doesn't share power well. And those are the hallmarks of a dictator. And those are the reasons that I didn't like Trump. You know, there are many reasons, but that's the big one, is that he absolutely centralized power. And because of that, you had him bringing, oh, these are my buddies, into a race where they shouldn't have been there. You should have had somebody that was, you know, better on Republican talking points at the very least. And he didn't do that. And the reason is because he was trying to shore up his power instead of and get himself some allies in Congress for his 2024 run. It was all about Trump.
Oh, sure. You know, and in his whole thing was, hey, you know, I'm 30 for 30 on my endorsements, winning primaries, but great. What is that doing for us now? You know, in 35, you know, toss up races, we're pretty much over. You know?
The people trusted him in the primary process,
right?
And so they voted that way because people kind of got out of the way. But then you go up against the actual opposition, it's like, hey, we went with this quarterback because he does really well in practice. It's like, okay, but that's against your own guys.
Right.
And then when he clams up when there's actual, you know, pressure in the pocket, and you know, you need the, anyway, it's
no, but his only wins, I mean, are what? I mean, that are his people, Vance and maybe Carrie Lake if she wins.
Right.
Yeah, I think that I saw something where they had his people were like 5 and 7 so far.
Are they? Okay.
Yeah. So, but he's still under 500.
Right.
And if that wasn't bad enough, check this out. This is from Truth Social. He says, now that the election in Florida is over and everything went quite well, shouldn't it be said that in 2020, I got 1.1 million more votes in Florida than Ron D got this year? 5.7 million to 4.6 million? Just asking. Like, this dude can't stop shooting himself in his own dick.
Oh
like,
my God.
What are you doing, Trump? It ain't all about you. And that's a terrible comparison because a presidential election turnout is insanely higher than it is for a midterm.
Yeah, he did just punch himself in the nuts. Because look, 4.7 million votes in a
governor's race,
governor's race, midterm election is incredible. And winning by 20 points.
Right.
Did Trump win Florida by 20 points? I'd rather, I don't think so. And it seems to me that DeSantis proved his coattails in Florida too. If you got Rubio, who was single digits with Demings, wins by double digits, flipping 3 House seats, and even Miami-Dade County, which which was
insane.
A 30-point win for Barack Obama. 12 years ago, or 10 years. What year is this? I don't even know what year it is.
It was 10 years ago.
Puff give, man. Puff give. I need some of that.
Yeah, 10 years ago. I mean, going from a 30-point swing from, I'm sorry. That's a dumb statement.
Right. Well, I wonder if if Trump's not shooting himself in the foot on purpose. Yes, do I think he's going to run for president in 2024? Almost certainly. But there has been rumors that he wasn't trying to win the first time. What if he's not trying to win? What if this is kind of an alley-oop to DeSantis?
It could be. I think you're giving him too much credit. Like, are we still in QAnon 7,864 degree chess?
For sure.
I mean,
well, he did move it back.
The plan.
The plan, though, was going to be announcing today, right? The day after. And he's moved it back to next Tuesday. And I think, well, if you pay attention to media, which I don't trust the media wants them to argue and fight. Okay, they've made that clear. They're like, hey, he called you a poopy head. Well, he called you a dickwad. Oh, well, he called you a spitball. Oh, well, he called you a booger picker. That's what the media is doing, trying to get them to go at each other. And Ron DeSantis, to his credit, ain't said shit.
Yeah.
He stayed out of it. But I don't know. That's what probably chapped Trump's ass today is the New York Post cover story. Because the New York Post put on the cover that Ron DeSantis is the leader of the party right now. And, because what do they call him? What do they call him on the cover? Here, let me see if I can find that cover.
Was it what Trump called him, which was desanctimonious?
No. New York Post. Let's see. Hang on. Oh, New York Post. Jesus.
Well, that's probably what spurred this tweet that he put out, because he put that out at like 4:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Today, yeah.
See, I've got to interject that I don't like DeSantis either. And, because he was a jag at Guantanamo Bay, that's all I need to not vote for him.
Well, and he's a little too quick on the trigger to make a state solution for things that don't need to be a state solution.
Correct.
But they called the future, which I thought would be a rap name.
That's when Trump is already hearing about all his candidates losing in the general. That's a twist of the knife in the back to Trump to call him the future. Yeah.
Young GOP star DeSantis romps to victory in Florida. Then the big letters, the future. That Trump had to react to that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other outlets today saying, DeSantis is the de facto leader of the party, while Trump is still out there talking about announcing next week. Or maybe, and when you said could it be a possible 40 chess move or 27 degree of separation chess move?
I was joking, but yes.
I know you were joking, but because I don't think Trump ever thinks that far,
No.
that far ahead. But what's his announcement going to be next Tuesday? Is it going to be he's running for president, or that he's
endorsing
officially? No, he won't be endorsing.
Oh, no, you can't because he's not running yet. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But is it going to be? I'm officially deciding whether we're going to do this soon, because right now is the luster's off after this election.
For sure,
it just is, and he's got to know that. Yeah. He's got to know that the luster has been, wiped off just a little bit. That he needs to get some wax back on there and do some buffing before he can, before he's shiny enough to do this right now.
Do you think, though, that something that might be going into his plans as well is, because I just thought of this, Marty, do you think that there's a possibility he may use the running for president as a cover so that it is harder for people to press charges against him? Because those are still possibilities.
Yeah. Personally, I don't, but that's what he will be accused of.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I don't. If they want to press charges on him, they're going to do it. Letitia James won in New York, so she's still around. And although her suit's completely stupid, but the January 6th committee has until January 2nd to do something. Which, well, I don't know. Did they? Is it official that the Republicans got the House yet? I mean, I don't
think it's official, but it's definitely leaning that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it may not be official, but it is. That's what's going to happen. It's just going to it's not going to be as big as they thought it was going to be. And the Senate it's basically down to 3 races right now.
I think there's a good chance in the Senate we're going to be looking at 50-50.
Yeah, which is still Democrat control. Yeah, it's still Democrat control because you got Kamala Harris as the president of the Senate, as the VP.
Yeah,
but
incompetent Harris.
So you got Kelly and Masters hasn't updated in a while in terms of like the vote totals actually changing. But you have where did it go? They had I had a thing that had more races showing. But anyway, I want to look at the governors because I don't understand why they haven't called this Alaska race yet, because I know you have to have 50%, but it's 72% in, and Dunleavy's at like 52. So it would have to be like a huge push from everyone else to close that. But Kerry Lake, this one's more interesting in Arizona, is only down by like 4,000 votes right now.
Right.
You said that earlier. That's right.
They still got 800,000 account apparently.
Yeah,
like I mean, that how is that creeping along so slowly? Who's the Secretary of State in Arizona? Who might that be?
I bet they got a D next to the name.
Oh, isn't she the one running for governor against Kerry Lake?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, come on. But that's what that's what what's her name? That was Stacey Abrams' argument last time. Oh, I'm running against the Secretary of State who controls the vote. I'm glad that was decisive. I did not want to hear her voice anymore.
She's not done. I mean, she may not be running for office again, but she's paid by somebody. She's very successful at doing what she does to mobilize people.
GOTV. That's what she does.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she does.
She gets it out. It's.
So, Marty, what did you think was going to happen, and looking back, what did you think? Did you believe there was going to be a red wave? Because I have to say, I did. I thought there was going to be a lot.
On Monday, I said that I was cautiously optimistic that it would be a red wave. I thought Republicans could get possibly 4 Senate seats. I said 3, but possibly 4. First of all, even though I think Oz was a terrible candidate, I thought he would win.
Right.
Because
Letterman was awful.
But yeah, I mean, how do you vote for that man? I don't know. I have no idea. And I thought that Walker and Warnock would be neither would get 50%. I said there'd be a runoff, but I thought all, with 30 some toss-up races, I thought Republicans got to get at least half or more of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, yeah, it's going to be a wave. Except the last thing I said before I got done on Monday, there's a TikTok factor. Okay, I call it the TikTok factor because every day on my phone I was getting, at least the last few days, not my wife got them for the last month. I did start getting the last few days. I started getting those text messages, right? You got to do this. Here's the candidates you want to do. Here's you got to get out and vote. Blah blah blah. You go on YouTube. If you don't have YouTube Premium, you got candidates ads constantly.
Mm-hmm.
You used to be able to kind of, even though the TV was bombarded with it. If you're not watching TV, you weren't getting bombarded with ads. And on election day, I swear to God, every app on my phone was telling me it was election day. The text, it's election day. I'm getting this and that is election day. The people who usually forget about election day are the younger people. Yeah. Older people know it's election day because they're already planning to go out and vote.
Mm-hmm. They're watching Fox News or MSNBC like all the time, and
they're watching news.
Yeah,
young people don't watch the news. Okay,
right.
With the TikTok factor is the young voter turnout has been growing because you got these apps telling them, oh, it's voting day. It's voting day. You're not going to have abortion if you don't go out and vote. You're not going to be. They're going to take away the ability of trans kids to be trans kids if you don't go out and vote. And so you got a little bit more of the younger vote because of that, and that's what happened this year. Who polls those people? Nobody. They don't answer.
Right.
So you can't predict that, and so the turnout young people is higher, and they vote 3-1 Democrat. Yeah, that's what the exit polls go. So I said, you know what? That's what I said on Monday. I'm like, yeah, you can't predict.
No, you're right.
If they come out or not, and the professors in the colleges are saying, oh, I'll let you get off class, go vote.
Right.
The education establishment pushing all those people to vote. So you just never know. And I think that was a factor in a lot of places. Now in Florida it didn't work because the whole Hispanic population of Florida said, hi, Democrats.
Right.
But that wasn't happening everywhere. And so I was like, I'd love to see the red wave, but I got a feeling it might not be as extensive as it was. And I kind of got, it was even worse than I thought.
Right. It was a red trickle.
Yeah. Those traditional polling models don't work like they used to, because it's not just the vote. The vote used to be like largely, 50 plus. And if that number starts to creep, even if it only creeps a couple of percentage points younger, then you are that TikTok factor. That's a really good analysis.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, none of these people are going to be somebody, because I don't vote unless it's, to be clear for people that are watching from home, I don't disagree with the concept of voting. And I hope that, that at some point, at least voting is a component to to us becoming free, because people have started voting for people that make sense to like the Thomas Masseys of the Republican Party will rise, because people have learned that's going to spread the word and so forth. But I agree with Lysander Spooner that the only time that I'm going to even engage in all that nonsense is when it's in self-defense, when it is for, hey, somebody's wanting to have, the trans, shit in my library down here, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not playing with, a big dick coming out in front of my little girl. That's not going to happen. So,
I hope you're not playing with it.
Right, I ain't playing with none of that. I got it, Chad. But that to be said, I think that one of the things that seems pretty clear to me is that the corruption we have in this country in the voting booth is enormous. Who do you know that trusts the vote? Who do you know? How many times did you hear that this was going to be rigged? How do we know that it wasn't? And somebody said, they don't seem to have these problems in like Iraq, where everybody's like, yep, they voted and he won. It's good. Let's move on. But yet in the United States, with a country that has access to blockchain technology that could absolutely, delineate every vote. And obviously, why are we not looking at that as a factor to many of these votes? Could the Democrats have cheated?
On behalf of your channel,
no,
this was absolutely the most secure and fair and pristine election in the history of all elections, except for the last one. It's been perfect. There's been no shenanigans whatsoever.
Only 2016 and 2000 were shenanigan elections.
Well, no, yeah, but you can't even say that on YouTube. Well, yes, you can. You can say whatever you want about 2016 because the Russians, did something that I don't know exactly what they did. I won't say it because even that is questionable.
You can't say that 2000 was weird when it went to like the Supreme Court in Florida and all that.
I've been looking at the terms of service. I read it very carefully, and it said you cannot go back and question any American election in U.S. history.
Yeah, I guess
not 2000, not 2004, not 1960. You cannot question any U.S. election. So just I'm keeping my P's and Q's, and because Illinois in 1960 it was perfect. No one did anything. There was nothing.
All the Louisiana elections have always been fair and secure, and
every Louisiana election.
Everyone has been corrupt as shit.
No, hey, none of them have been. See, none of them have been.
I'm sorry. I know we're not supposed to talk about it, but I am not going to self-censor. All of them. All. ALL. I don't believe in democracy. I do
Marcus
not believe
is a parody
in
account.
Yes,
Marcus is a parody.
Yes. No, it's funny though. They say,
just joking.
They say you cannot question any U.S. election, and then they list like 3 other elections, like the 2000 whatever in Brazil, and the one in France, and one in one other place. Those are the only ones you can't, like, you cannot question any of those.
I got a dick they can suck because I ain't, because they aren't going to tell me what the fuck I can say. I get that they can kick me off this, but they're probably going to kick us off here eventually anyway.
That's what Rumble's for.
Exactly. And we're looking at that. We're on Odyssey right now.
And questioning. I'll be kicked off this forevermore.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Rumble's for.
Thank you, Dion. I appreciate that. That was very good.
But seriously, do we think that there might have been some tallying of votes that were less than upstanding here and there?
No,
simple yes or no.
That. Everything is great. Everything is awesome.
Okay, so I think by the fact that we can't say that tells me that's exactly what's going on.
Well, they got all the problems ironed out in Maricopa County. They came out and did a press conference, so they found the problem. They forgot to put toner in the printers, and so they fixed that problem, got the toner in the printers, and they got the little timestamps corrected and everything, so that's perfect. And when 35 of 35 toss-up races on 35 go to Democrats. That's exactly the way it happened, because the probability is absolutely possible. So
everything is absolutely possible. I like that. That's great.
That's good. It's correct. Everything is awesome. And I'm not
Marcus, just in case you need a little help, I'm gonna post some get right for you up here real quick. If you give me just a second. So let me we gotta take Marcus behind the woodshed and hit him with the get right paddle.
Yeah.
This is all.
It would have to be a flag.
This is all you can say about. Where is it? What the hell? Bro, I just put this thing in here. Where are you?
What are you looking for?
A picture that I just saved to my damn hard drive.
Well, why are you looking for that?
Yeah, go ahead.
The YouTube fact checkers have fact checks up. Fact checkers debunk misleading claims ahead of midterms.
Right ahead.
Why that's still up, I don't know, but that's on the some on the trending topics. Let's see if there's any more election shit on the trending topics here.
That sounds amazing.
Wall Street Journal. What? Let's see. Oh, doesn't the World Cup start today? Is that today?
Well, I know they picked the. That's where it is. I know they picked the U.S. team, and there was something on ESPN when I got here to the hotel talking about it, but I didn't pay attention to it. I think they said that the U.S. team is like 100-1 dogs to win it. So
yeah,
it's like all right, well, good luck, guys.
So before, okay, go ahead, Chad.
All right, so here it is. It takes time to count all the votes, Marcus. It's expected to take multiple days to count the votes, so the protected winners aren't announced yet. Okay, this means you could encounter unconfirmed claims that a candidate has won their race. Learn how voting by mail is safe and secure by clicking the link below. So, Marcus, get right.
All I have to say is Joseph Stalin said, and yes, I'm quoting Joseph Stalin, those who vote decide nothing. Those who count the vote decide everything.
Okay. So the perfect election system that we have in this country. No, it's funny because in Wisconsin, the woman who they arrested for sending those military ballots to one of the candidates, kind of as a whistleblowing operation.
Mm-hmm.
She was absolutely wrong. She should have never done that because that could never happen.
Right now.
Right.
Ever.
No.
Ever.
I'm wrong. I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
Thank you for finally admitting it. Marcus has taken his get right, and he is right now.
Yeah, that's right.
We can.
I need a flag, man. I need like red, white, and blue.
So,
and like,
so moving forward, I know we still have some stuff that's not settled yet. We won't find out probably for I'm thinking like almost a week. It'll probably be like Monday or Tuesday of next week before we really know. And I think y'all are right. I think 50-50 in the Senate is the most likely outcome, and that the House, a slight lead in the House is going to be what the Republicans have. It's still going to be enough to create some gridlock, and you're probably going to have, like we've had in the past, you're going to have like one of these like rogue Democrats in the Senate who will, through clout chasing or whatever it is, Joe Manchin or someone like that, who will stand in the way of the Biden administration to be that bipartisan, whatever kind of
bipartisan. We got one person.
Yeah. So you'll have a little bit of that, but what does 2024 look like? And is this all the pendulum swing that the right has to hope for, or does it continue to swing even farther right as we go into 2024?
I think this might be, it's on the edge of the swing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I'm looking at this. I saw there's something from 10 o'clock last night. Breaking, according to Edison Research National Election Poll, exit poll, the national youth vote choice for the U.S. House of Representatives was 63% for Democrats, 35% for Republicans. Voters 18 to 29 are the only age group in which more than half the vote supported Democrats. If they're the only group that more than half supported Democrats, then they were a factor in this election. Now, of course, AOC had to chime in on that, saying that the role of young people in this election cannot be understated. Turnout delivered on many of these races. By 2024, millennials and Gen Z voters will outnumber voters who are baby boomers and older, 45 to 25. Well, that's because she's stupid, because she missed a generation there. Gen X will still, if you put Gen X and the baby boomers together, They'll still outnumber those two groups, but
For sure.
But still, that's and Gen X and by the way, Gen Z are becoming more conservative, and they're probably more conservative than even some of the Gen X generation. It's or excuse me, not Gen Z, millennials. Excuse me, I meant the millennials.
Right.
So it's remember, as you get older, people tend to get more conservative. Now, the other one that I saw was married people versus unmarried people. So married women were like 20 points more for the right or the Republicans. Unmarried people were 37% more for the Democrats. So that's also a factor. If you're trying to, if there's reasons that certain elements of government want people to not be married, i.e. Democrats, because they want to give you cradle to grave entitlement, they would encourage you maybe not to be in that other group that votes for the other guy, because it's all about power, right?
Yeah.
I don't think any of these people give a shit about us.
No.
They give a shit about power.
For sure.
And,
so does that mean that when gay marriage happened, that the gay community started to become more conservative? It's a joke. Joke's on you.
Actually, yes, I think that is true. I think that I have lots of weird friends, and my daughter is sort of gay. She's in a weird relationship with the three of them. Long story short, there's two girls and a guy, and they're having all kinds of fun. Just got my first grandson because of it. But they're anarchists, and if they were going to vote, they would probably vote conservative. They would probably vote either for the Libertarian Party or for the GOP. So I actually think that, yes, it is true that the gay community is moving conservative. Now, they may not be socially conservative, but they are definitely moving to a fiscal conservatism.
Well, I was going to ask that. So, first of all, you just proved to these people who say that the libertarians pull votes from the GOP right by saying that they would either vote Republican or for the libertarians.
Well, it's because
I'm just fucking with you,
right? It's because they tend to like, for instance, it would depend. Because my kids are my kids, and they tend to, like the pro-peace Republicans. Those are the ones that they tend to like.
Yeah, if it's Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, they're like, nah, fuck you. I'm not. Yeah, I got you. All right. So the next thing I was going to say, and I want to bring Marty to the front on this question, because this is where I wanted to, because you said they lean conservative, and then you were quick to correct and say maybe not socially conservative. But so I wanted to ask the question, what does conservatism even mean in 2022? What is that evolving? Because now you've got things like qualified immunity for cops, the drug war, possession of marijuana versus, things that a conservative in the 1950s would have never considered. It's the pro-freedom idea of what I have always been told is conservatism always was at odds with some of that more police statey nanny government type of stuff that tends to be at home in the Republican Party. So is conservatism evolving into more of a right libertarian-ish sort of fiscally free market policy type and non-interventionist war, kind of what the Republicans used to be 100 years ago?
If you look at the so-called ultra MAGA Republicans, yes, they tend to be. They tend to be more, except on certain subjects. Except on some limited issues. But I think you're seeing the younger, or at least the people, because you notice that the more MAGA types are less interventionist, are less prone to the the establishment Republican warmongers like Liz Cheney, or like some of those people,
McCain,
non-neocon.
Yeah. So, which I think are more like, look, who used to talk about freedom of speech? It wasn't the conservatives. It was the ultra liberals. Now it's all the conservatives about freedom, about government out of your back, out of your pocket, out of your way. Now, unfortunately, not enough of them are. I if there was a candidate who said that who's going to start a movement where the federal government doesn't write a new law for 4 years and just repeals the shitty laws, that'd be the first person I would vote for.
Sure. Self-defense.
Yeah. So, but I think that, at least that's where I've evolved to, because I've been this Republican type person since 1984. I voted for Reagan, and then I think the only Democrat I voted for Obama the first term, and then I'm like, what the fuck did I do? I guess it didn't matter because I live in Minnesota, so it didn't really matter. He was going to win anyway, so I could say, well, I voted for the first black president, and then I realized, I missed that with Clinton. Anyway.
Isn't it crazy though what they say about what they think about black people when they say that Bill Clinton is the first black president, because of some of the stuff with his character that they like, that he had like associated. It's like, wow, don't really think high up. Yeah,
getting neck under the desk. That's
smoking weed and lying about it, and it's like, all right,
okay,
I see where you hold people. Okay.
Exactly.
But come on, Joe Biden today, I heard this on the news on my way home from work today. Joe Biden was talking about we need to get health care for black people and other poor communities.
What did he say? He said black kids can be just as smart, just as rich as white kids, or something like that. What did he say? Just as bright.
Poor kids.
Oh yeah, poor kids can be just as something as white
kids.
Yeah, it's like, wow. So Jay Pylon reminds us sax playing. That was another Bill Clinton
sax playing,
thing.
right?
Yeah, so you got to be a jazz blues musician, something like that in there too. Well, what were you saying? So you were saying you had voted for, you've been Republican all this time, and you were going somewhere.
I've evolved to the more freedom, because when I was young, I was dumb. I just thought, Reagan got us out of the doldrums of the 70s, and but economically, they kind of they made some changes that made the country work, and that really through 9/11, that kind of they talk about trickle down, but look, if people keep their own money, the more they spend it on things that make sense and things that work for everyone else, and they try to maximize. Businesses and people try to maximize their lives, that it improves everybody's life. But when when it was coming around to, I don't even remember what I thought about the first Bush and Desert Storm and all that shit with Schwarzkopf. That was like, yay, rah, rah, flag waving, but I didn't know shit about that. But I in the early 2000s with W, I was always like, okay, yes, we got attacked, and I could see where we would, if bin Laden's in Afghanistan, maybe we should go take care of that. And then he pivoted to Iran or to Iraq, and I'm like,
what?
Why are we going there? And that's when I started going, oh, wait a minute, I got to stop just going. I got to stop just being red or blue because it's red or blue. But some of the other stuff he did made sense, but that didn't make sense to me. And so I think a lot of Republicans now look back on that and go, W fucked up.
Yeah, W did fuck up.
So I think the evolution of the Republican now I'm old, but younger Republicans are less interventionist, less, I call them the anti-war right.
Yeah.
Where
gotta have them because there ain't no anti-war left anymore.
It's hard to find the anti-war, at least in
the right used to be the anti-war people.
Yeah, for sure.
They were against going into World War I. They were against going into World War II. Like in both cases, that there had to be some arm twisting and some coaxing and some, some suspicious skycloth activity.
And FDR got, made it so we can get in that war, right?
Yeah, that's sort of thing. You know what I meant.
Oh, we conveniently didn't see that coming. But so now I think, I guess to answer your question, yeah, I think it is, at least in theory, thinking more liberty type people, the Freedom Caucus types, who what we don't have is, the Tea Party people, the fiscal people, as much, which we, whether Tea Party got maligned for some shit that they weren't doing, just like they try to put this Q shit on Republicans, and I'm like, as much as I've been following it, I don't even know. I follow this all the time. I don't hear shit from Q, whatever Q is, but they really love to make it, make you part of that. But I think, I think it's not libertarian Republicans, but they're libertarian leaning Republicans.
Yeah.
I'm a libertarian leaning anarchist. So one of the things that
I don't vote, but when I do,
right. Generally, it's a libertarian, right? But one of the things that you touched on, because you said you kind of started your journey with Reagan. One of the things I think that the Republican Party fucks up constantly, and people don't talk about enough, is that, Murray Rothbard said that the worst thing that ever happened to the Libertarian Party in particular was Ronald Reagan. And that's because he instilled the faith in government back into government. And how he did that, to go a little bit farther than Rothbard did, is he made the GOP appealing to libertarians. He made it to where libertarians would go, I'm more likely to win with that dude, and he's talking a lot of the same shit that I'm talking. So sure, he wasn't on the same page. I know the gun stuff. I personally am not a huge fan of Ronald Reagan, but he definitely at least gave the Republicans a model. I mean, look at how he won. That dude wiped the fucking board pretty much.
Yeah.
And then they spent every single election since he was out of office not doing anything he did.
What did they get? Like 72 electoral votes or something like that? It was something atrocious.
I think Minnesota was the only state. Yeah.
Yeah, it was 400 something electoral votes. Out of whatever you could get. Isn't it 40-35 the max? And he got all but Minnesota.
Right.
Every state but Minnesota.
Okay. Was it that bad?
Yeah, it was that was the second time. He won big the first time. But the second time, the only state that didn't vote for him was Minnesota. Put that into perspective. New York and California voted for his ass.
Right. Yeah.
And where do I live now?
Minnesota. Good job, Marty.
Fuck me.
Thinking.
Oh my God.
So you touched on something earlier about like the TikTok generation, and then also like this kind of that fiscal conservatism, that free market. There's a lot of people, a lot of kids out there, side hustling and kind of creating their own way. Because there's so much, whether it's the clamor for a $15 minimum wage or the student debt stuff or all that. There's kids who don't want to go to college. They don't see the point. There's kids who are like finding ways to create their own way and everything. I just wanted to bring this up. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but I wanted to get your thoughts on this, Marty, because this kind of blew me away. I described it as, this is what when the central planners try to plan, this is what happens when the Bitcoin youth kind of gets a hold of it. So this teacher, she was going to get her second graders to learn about money management. So she was going to charge them for rent for their chair, for their desk, and then she was going to give them money for chores and stuff. This is what happened.
Students have to pay rent at their desk. They either have to pay rent or they have to pay a mortgage, right?
I was so optimistic about this whole thing in September, and bro, the way this entire theory manifested into something I did not foresee. So when I tell you these kids have been paying their rent on time every month since they had to start paying rent. But baby, when I tell you, it's not even from me giving them points on their homework, which was the point of this. No, it's not from that. These kids started their own businesses. Emily owes me $3 for canceling an order. Romina owes me $9 for buying from me. But transaction number is crazy. I have seen these kids sell little Play-Doh figurines, slime, nails, lip gloss, snacks. God forbid you left your charger at home. They were selling their chargers. And then here I am playing accountant. This was September and October transactions, right? And bro, this is already November. All right. And this was supposed to be like little $5 here, $5 there. What is this $100? I'm gonna tell you what that is. We did class presidents and stuff, so they get executive pay for the month of November.
Oh my
okay?
God.
Don't get me started. How my good sis got them down to the cent. This girl owed me 75 cents. I thought we was working with whole numbers. They all have jobs in this room, and honestly and truly, I'm about to have to hire an accountant because these, and bro, come on. But keep in mind, they make sure their bills are paid. Their money management is set up, and that was the whole point of this. That was the whole point. They knew they had to pay rent, and they knew they had to get what they needed.
She needs to start taxing them.
Marty,
think
don't
about
make me ban you, Marty.
What? No, listen. She needs to start taxing them.
So they can learn about
so they can learn how much
evasion.
Well, that too. No. So by the time they actually do have business and stuff, they be like, fuck these taxes.
Right, for sure.
Oh my God.
But no doubt. I think if she started taxing them though, I think you would find find a whole bunch of people. They would be like the mafia. They'd be laundering money and everything.
Yeah, they'd be hiding shit. Oh my God. They would invent some offshore accounts. They'd have offshore accounts in another classroom.
Yeah, it'd be like on the merry-go-round or something like that. No. That money's over on the swing set.
They'd come up with duty-free travel. It would be amazing. But isn't that cool? Isn't that cool that kids do that though?
This is the human spirit. This is the human intellect at work when it's
Here's what governments are trying to do though, right? So, in California they had that whatever, I remember prop whatever, where everyone had to be employed by whoever you're doing work for, and then they made all these hundreds of exceptions, right? You know what I'm talking about? I can't remember. Is it Prop 5? I don't know what it is,
but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So and then all these people who do Uber and all these other independent contractors, independent truckers or whatever were up in arms as they passed this. And so then they started making all these exceptions. Well, they're trying to bring that, at least the Biden administration is talking about doing what they did there, because basically this is a gift to the union saying, hey, you have to work for a company. You can't be an independent contractor, and you have to be part of a union to be in the company, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Oh shit! Now I lost my train of thought where I was going with that. Damn it!
You're talking about the Prop 5 and taxation
but now these young people right now who are hustling, they're doing all this stuff. They're trying, some are trying to stream and some are trying to do these side hustles. Some are going out and collecting giveaway couches and they're selling them to other people and making money. They're gonna start figuring out, when the IRS starts picking into their bank accounts going, wait, where'd this money come from? Where'd this money come? They're going to start figuring out that, the government's just kind of here to fuck with you. And that's when they start becoming more conservative. They start saying, I got to pay taxes on that. if I move money from this PayPal account or this Venmo account to use it, the government is out there figuring out that I'm getting money from in that Venmo account, and they want to know where it came from. That's when they start going, oh, that's life experience. So when they say these millennials and the Gen Zs, yeah, they're all voting for the Democrats, but the Democrats are ones who are trying to pick your pocket the most. I mean, the Republicans do it too, but the Democrats, that's their whole, I'm gonna pick your pocket so I can give it, take from Peter to pay Paul. So, yeah, and I laugh because when they made this example, the Gen Z and the millennials, as AOC says, voters will outnumber voters who are baby boomers and older. Well, guess what? The older they get, the more experience they get.
Mm-hmm.
Most people when I was in my 20s were like the Gen Zs now, but a lot of my friends now that I'm almost 60 are all conservative, or at least conservative
thinking
for their mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you're 25, you're stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, for me, I got two things really. The first thing is I want to introduce to this little group of people. Jimmy's an agorist, and Jimmy should be telling his buddies, hey, why don't we trade on the side and get around the teacher? And have you heard of cryptocurrency? Because these kids that this woman was dealing with understand computers. They're totally way ahead of us when it comes to that curve. So those kinds of things are going to make sense to them. And that dovetails into, though I agree with you, and I think that the common wisdom that people are more conservative when they're older and more liberal when they're younger is certainly true in the greater community. But what I think is happening is lots of people are bypassing conservatism in between 18 and 25 and moving straight into a form of either libertarianism into anarchism, because they're finding that conservatism to them, and I know that the conservatism you're talking about does not have to do with the idea of being restrained and those kinds of things. I get it. But for them, that word, conservatism, that's what that means. It's my parents telling me that I can't go out and party with my friends. Right. But when you introduce, like when people ask me, are you a conservative or a liberal? I say I'm neither. I'm a radical. And what the Republican Party would be very good to do is to bring radicalism back into the party. Because what children want is rebellion. What they want is to be separate from what their parents are. They want to rebel against all of the things that their parents told them that they should. And right now, the country is at least 50% liberal. Let's just be honest. And so at least the voting population. And so if we can get them to stop looking on ideas like the free market, because that woman just demonstrated that the free market definitely works for children. If we can get them to looking at radicalism, looking at being, to go to people like Malcolm X. Malcolm X has conservative values, but very few people, granted in our circles, they call him conservative, but very few people call him a conservative, but they certainly called him a radical. And so I think that one of the things that the GOP and these people that should be strategizing, how do we get this youth that is growing up and doing all that, is they need to start figuring out that they should be working with nature and trying to become the radical extension away from their Democratic parents.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Malcolm X too, because I find it kind of funny how there are conservatives out there who go back and listen to some of the stuff that he was saying and they go, oh shit.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Now I get what he was trying to say, and I'm talking about not just, and I'm talking white conservatives even go, they hear these quotes from Malcolm X, and they're like, oh damn. you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I want to say something about this teacher, and like y'all were talking, you know, you said something about her tax, and I think that's kind of what she was charging them property tax. She was charging them rent to have their desk, you know. So there's an element of that, and then also to the extent that you could say that wasn't enough, you know, like income tax or whatever you want to call it. She was making them do homework and their assignments and everything. So what they figured out was they figured out how to evade that. They're like, all right, so check it out. I'm never doing my homework, but I'm still gonna pay my rent. You know,
they're bartering and trading and stuff.
Yes, they're doing all this other stuff. So it's like they're finding in their own way, they're still kind of finding their way to like, okay, so you created this system that you thought was gonna make me do this. Well, I'm still gonna work within your system, but you don't realize all the loopholes that you created, and I'm going to exploit every one of those loopholes, and I'm going to show you some that you didn't even know could possibly exist. Because that's what some of this stuff they ended up doing, where they're like, and they're getting rich on the side on top of it. Like she kind of unlocked an achievement for them, where like now they're like, damn, I didn't even know I could make this much money going to school. And people were bartering, you know, all throughout when I was in school. Like you come to school and like you had the 17th in a row peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and somebody else had, you know, the bag of Doritos and whatever, I don't know, pastrami and something else. Like you'd be like, hey man, you want to try? And he's like, yes, this is like the 30th pastrami sandwich I've had this month. Yes, gladly, I will trade with you. So we were trading like that all the time. Anyway, you didn't want your fruit, so you gave it to somebody else so that they could give you one of their candy bars because their parents actually let them have candy bars or whatever the case may be.
And then you collect enough candy bars and you sell them to another kid for, you know,
that's right,
for a quarter. Now you're actually getting actual cash out of your little bar, even though you didn't want a candy bar, but
that's right. And I want to say this too, Marcus, about what you were saying about the rebellious stuff. I think another thing that parents I would I guess advise or warn against, and I know Jimmy's watching and Jay's watching, and they've got young kids, like very young kids. My approach, and I'm not saying I'm perfect or my kids are perfect. Marty met my son at HotepCon. My son knows that at every step along the way, I have fed into like making sure that he knows that the stuff that he wants to do, I'm going to help. I'm going to advise him, but I'm not going to be that like overseer, authoritarian, totalitarian kind of dictator. Like I'm going to have an explanation. I'm going to be like, hey, look, I know that you want to do this, but like, you really need to spend less time doing that. And you need to spend more time doing this, because here's what's going to happen. Like you're going to not make the, you know, like when he was younger, I'd be like, you're going to not make the high school basketball team at some point because you're spending all this time playing Fortnite and doing this other stuff instead of out there working on your game. And I know how important that is to you. So if you want to do that, and instead of me just punishing him and being like, get off of this, I'm taking it away, you know, and then he's just pissed off. Now he's not doing either one, you know? And so I think what that does is that opens them up to where we go to something like HotepCon. He's 16 years old and he's sitting there, he's sitting through all the talks, and he's soaking it all in, and he's having conversations. Yeah, he was absorbing it because he knows he's not trying to rebel against that stuff that I'm interested in.
Sure.
He understands, and he brings stuff to me. He's like, oh, check this out, Dad. You got to see this. You know, so it's like, I think sometimes the rebellion comes more from the approach than it does from the material. So.
Yeah, I have 4 anarchist kids. So I feel
there you go. I was going to say, I assume your approach has been similar because you have similar results.
Yeah, one of the things that I think that we need, because the reason that, you know, for people that are watching this and are like, okay, you guys are anarchists, why are you trying to help the GOP? And the answer is because the Democrats are lost. Let's just be clear. The Democrats are done. Those motherfuckers, you know, they aren't trying to be anarcho-communists. They ain't no anarcho in anything they do. They are trying to be full-on tyrannical shitbags. The GOP still has people in it, real people, like Marty, who really want freedom, not kind of
Mhm.
want freedom, not
Right.
sort of want freedom, really want freedom. Sure, they may not be where I am, where I'm looking at all that as nonsense. I get it. I understand that. I want to encourage them, to be successful, because if they show that minimal government or less government is successful, the next step is, let's see what happens if we get even less government. And then less government. And then the next thing you know, we have a free world. And so that's why I want to see a successful GOP. That's why I want to see a successful Libertarian Party, because those people are on the road. I was a communist at 18, and now I'm an anarchist. I want to see other people make that journey. And it took me going through the GOP, it took me going through the Libertarian Party before I realized they're all shitbags. So yes, I want to encourage them, and I want to help them. I want people like Marty or Hotep Jesus or Uncle Hotep or somebody or Sonny Johnson or somebody like that to absolutely step up and be voices for the conservatives, because they are on our side.
Right. Agreed.
So, Marty, with that, what do you think needs to happen? Because somebody said today that if this is all, after all this bullshit we've been facing for 2 years, if this is as good as it goes, the GOP's done. How do you reverse that?
Oh boy. I wish I knew. I think you need to first of all, find better candidates who understand that part of the way people grow is to have to do things on their own, and there are people who are actually going to go back to that. Hey, get the government out of your pocket and also putting into your pocket, because that's what's getting us into trouble now. The government trying to put into our pocket just means that they create more money that causes the inflation that they say they're trying to fight with an Inflation Reduction Act that spends, trillions of dollars that we don't even have. I think when you were talking about the difference between from going from conservative to libertarian to anarchist is the more people who learn how to fish and want to create something that someone else wants, then the more you can be the libertarian. But if you have the government, just providing fish, then nobody gets better.
Right. Well, not only that, but like to your point about what the girl was showing with her class and that stuff where they were being entrepreneurs in the classroom with that stuff, is the more people try to fish on their own and then realize that the government is trying to take the fish out of their, or tell them how to fish. No, you can't have a rod that long. No, you can't use that bait. No, you can't do this. You can't fish here. You can't. The more people are going to be like, you know what, the hell with y'all. I don't need you telling me how to fish.
Right. Yeah. So we need someone who is that, again, I guess pushing the freedom angle of whatever it is. I think we all kind of understand it, but to put it into words, I'm not sure. But just understanding that the less get the candidates that say, "Hey, here's why this control from the top, and is it working for you? Why maybe we should remove some of the control from the central and let it be more local. Why it should be, of course, you got some of those state governments that are just as bad as as bad as the federal government, obviously. But at least, look, let's take the power away from here. And the problem is, all those people run like the power, and so I don't know how you do that. In a way, Reagan it preached smaller government. He didn't always do it. But someone who's preaching that the smaller from the central, because right now everything's going the wrong direction. To more power to our central government, and more influence from that world government. I don't want to say New World Order or anything like that. The globalism label, because so many people don't even understand that. When I say globalism, I mean people try to consolidate power to one world entity that this tells everyone what to do. Well, you know what? In my little suburb, in my of Minneapolis, St. Paul, someone at the WF has no idea what I need, but they're going to try to dictate what I want, what I can do. No, I want the people who are saying, "Oh no, let's just go back to our small units." The greatest, the only socialist unit that there should be is your family.
Right.
That's in my opinion. And unless you have a small group of people who decide that they're going to cooperate, but that's not even necessarily cooperation. That is, that's just cooperating. That's not even necessarily
right.
I think Marty's become a mutualist.
Maybe, but it's like, and I don't know who can do that, because the power that they get once they get into those positions is so lucrative. It's so that's their endorphins kick in, because it's the power, and I don't know, like I said, I want that person who says, hey, guess what, we're going to come in here, we're not going to pass any new laws for 4 years. I'm voting for that person. I don't know. So
yeah, and I think also to your money and power point, I think that there's a lot of that stuff that's already there. Like I witnessed this firsthand. There's a big I-10 project in Louisiana where they're trying to do this widening project, and the plan that they have will have Interstate 10 in the heart of Baton Rouge for like a 3.5 mile stretch down to one lane for up to for a minimum of 14 months.
Yeah.
It's going to be absolutely disastrous for industry, for everything. And I'm talking about like from California to Florida. This ain't just going to affect us. And so, we're in there trying to fight it. And here comes this guy, and he's a fairly young guy, probably like in his late 30s, early 40s. And he is representing this big business conglomerate that is like behind this stuff. And then you go look, and it's like, okay, well, they got money coming from here, they got money coming from there. And this guy is he's not even a politician yet, but I can smell it on him. And I already know that he's already in deep with the money.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not even so much that they get elected and then they become influenced by the money. They get elected because the money chose them.
Right.
And put them there. Like there's very few of these candidates that they just like, it's not like somebody just woke up one morning and is like, you know what? I think I'm going to run for the House of Representatives. Let me go see if let me try my hand at that. No. You can't win unless you have the money backing you. And so it's already a rigged game from that standpoint. I was telling my wife, some of these things, like, and you were talking about this earlier, the people who should be running don't run because we got shit to do. We got families to feed. We have all these other obligations already. And it doesn't pay that well in terms of like the actual job itself, the salary. So you have to have these deep pockets funding you. And I was telling my wife, I was like, it'd be really cool is if the whole thing was you had to get the people who voted for you to do a GoFundMe, and the max donation was like $200, and that's what you had to live on. Because then you'd actually have to like live off of the people who want you doing the work that you're doing. Like look at like Maj Toure, who like everything that he does is all funded off of individual donations.
Right.
He doesn't have the NRA funding his work. He has some donors from some like manufacturers and some other gun organizations, but they're smaller and they're like more free-minded, and they're not donating in the millions like some of these other groups are. So I just it's not that the money needs to be out of that stuff. It's that the money needs to be channeled in a different way. And it's a shame, we have so much shit going on all the time. It's hard. There are a few people who have like retired, or it's, stay-at-home moms who like hound this stuff. They're like constantly on the internet trying to figure out like what legislator is doing this and what legislator and what city council person's doing this and doing that, so you can keep tabs on this stuff. Because I'll be perfectly honest, if I didn't have those people doing that stuff because they don't work full time, I wouldn't know what the hell's going on except for what the media tells us.
Right.
Because I don't have time to go dig into all this stuff and find out who's lying and who's telling the truth. Not on the local and state level. Yeah, no, I know, but I'm just saying, like, they are what they are. But I mean, no, in reality, like I know we say that all the time, and I'm not poo-pooing it and disagreeing, but sure. There's some real people. I'll call them out by name. Kathy Edmondson, Beryl Amity, and there's a couple of others in Louisiana who like I've sat down and had dinner with, that they're like a handful of people who are actually fighting against all these vaccine mandates and everything else. And if they weren't there, that shit would have gone through.
Sure.
So like to your point about like voting to protect yourself, to block stuff, you have to have that. And at some point you've got to activate and get involved, to borrow Sonny's terminology, to make it to where you can keep some of this stuff at bay until you have time to devote more time to it. But like, I don't know, like I wonder sometimes, on the one hand, I despise the fact that there's that kind of corrupt money in politics. But on the other hand, I'm like, I wouldn't do it unless I was getting paid the kind of money that could take care of the stuff that I need to take care of. So I don't know where's the solution in that. Like Thomas Sowell said, I fucked up the quote last night. There are no solutions. There are only trade-offs. I finally got it right, but it's just, it sucks that it's that way, but it is what it is. Wow. We got to find a way to navigate it.
So Marty, do you think you'd ever run for something?
Nope.
Why not?
I have skeletons, and I get beat up. I get beat up by the skeletons. Not bad skeletons, but just enough that I'm not willing to put my personal life out there that
sure
to do that. And it's not like, my business is my business.
Sure.
I'm not much. Unfortunately, as I'm getting older, I probably could be more activist, but right now I'm at a point where I just want to enjoy my time with my wife and travel and do shit. And so unfortunately it's like, it's kind of like, I talk a lot of shit, but I won't eat it.
Yeah. Sure. I understand that, dude. I've thought about running for shit too, even from my political persuasion, if you will. But if I ever ran, but I guarantee you don't practice voodoo. Come on, I'm a voodoo anarchist. These motherfuckers are not going to vote for me. But if I ever was going to run, I'd own that shit. I'd own it.
In Louisiana too?
No, I'm in Indiana.
Oh, okay.
Now, he's been to New Orleans though, so he knows.
Sure. Yeah, I've been to New Orleans Voodoo Spiritual Temple and had like one of the best conversations of my life.
I went down there a couple of years ago. And,
nice.
We checked out some of the voodoo spots. We checked out the Museum of Death. That was my favorite. There's all about.
I went there too.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. But anyway, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, but if for me, I'm like, if I ever did decide now, mostly it would be as a lark, like the transgender that ran as a Republican, or transgender anarchist that ran as a Republican and won in New Hampshire, right? Yeah. I can't remember her name right now, but she owned that shit. She's like, okay. So that's what I'd do. I'd be like, my logo would have Marcus and like I'd have a voodoo symbol in the background and have the A in my name would be an anarchy symbol. I'd own it. And my slogan would be something like, fuck those people.
If I ever did think running, like I've been on like boards of the local athletic association. I've done that kind of stuff. If I ran for something, it would be a local school board, or maybe I live in a small suburb, maybe a city council at most, because where I can impact something here, but I never want to get on that other track. I'm probably bordering too old to get on that track. It's funny though that you mentioned that, because what year was it? I want to say 1981. I think I was like when I was 17 years old. I said that I was going to be the first Black president when I run in 2008. And that's what I had said that when I was 17. And then in 2008, and I'm adopted. But I'm mixed race, and I'm like, in 2008, we got our first Black president who was a mixed race,
right,
with a father from Africa.
Crazy.
Who's Irish. That's because my natural father is from Nigeria. My mother is almost full-blooded Irish, and I was like, oh shit,
he's still my jam.
I could have done that. Like, who's this guy? Where'd this guy come from?
Right.
Instead, we got Barry. I would have much rather Marty.
We got Barry,
for sure.
Yeah. Hey, I do have a question though.
All right.
And this is a terminology, and then I gotta get going.
Sure.
But okay, you used a term that I like to have questions about, and I've always considered this term a bit of an oxymoron, and that would be the term anarcho-communist. Isn't that an oxymoron?
No. In Chad, you want me to take this, or do you want to get it?
Yeah, go ahead. You got it, man.
So actually, what we consider anarchism, if you will, kind of started as a anarcho-communist thing. There wasn't a anarcho-communist thing until there was an anarcho-capitalist thing. Because people like Emma Goldman, and who's my favorite anarcho-communist, what they believed, you got to remember, most of the people that really were anarcho-communists, I'm not talking about Antifa, I'm not talking about modern anarcho-communists, or largely just statists who like the word anarchy and want to put an anarchy symbol on shit. But but they believed that they could, outside of government, collectively have an economy. They believed that they could have an economy that was outside of government, but was also collective. So that made them communists. And I would also point out that in Marx's early work, as we've interviewed a communist, one of Nicco's acquaintances. Shout
out to Nicco, by the way.
Right.
Nicco's not going anywhere. He's taking a break. He's on assignment, and he'll be back.
For sure. Continue. So to try to get this as succinct as possible, they believe that they could do that they could have a collective economy while not having a government. And Marx himself had envisioned government going away under Marxism. So that's not an outside of the communist idea to begin with. But I would say if you're an anarcho-communist today, you're delusional. Because now that's not saying that explain where I'm wrong. You know, I welcome anybody. I think anybody that is trying to take down the state is my friend. But I don't think that, I think over the past 100 years, we have seen what collective economy does. And what collective economy does is destroy a country, whether there's a government or not. And so I would say that it is not an oxymoron, but it's a
question of scale.
Right. You could make the argument, that's actually where I was going. You could make the argument that the Amish are anarcho-communists, and it works for them. And it does not work in large scale. And so that's my opinion. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have socialism in your anarchism, because I probably do, because I'm more of a mutualist, which means that I believe if we voluntarily agree to cooperate and have that economy that we have shared, then that's good.
Mhm.
Does that cover it?
Well, and I would say too on the scale thing, I think that's the biggest problem is that like as you scale, because Marty talked about it like in your family, like obviously like my wife and my kids, it's communist. Like we were just talking about this today. My wife and I were like, my daughter was we were talking about Christmas, and she, we're talking about like the budget because she told us like one of the things she wants. We're like, yo, hey. How much do you think we're spending on Christmas?
Right.
So it's like hold the phone. So and then she starts talking about how she paid for this and she bought gifts last year with her own money for everybody, and she spent this much money on that's, and I was like, okay,
Is
that's
this
cool.
Wait, hold up. Is this a grown daughter or
she's 19, she's in college.
Okay,
but here's the thing, like we're like, okay, that's cool. We appreciate the generosity that you showed in buying gifts for everyone. However, if I may, I will just briefly point out that you have no bills.
Right.
Yeah,
you have only income. You only have income. There's no outgo.
That's what I was about to ask about. She said her own money.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
She works. She makes money. Yeah.
Yeah, but
and she's on a full paid scholarship, so like she's got what I mean, like it's there's plenty of reasons why, like for where she is in her life. I don't really have anything to argue against her in terms of like her own ownership of the stuff that she claims that she owns, because I'm not paying for her college. She's got that on her own merit through a scholarship. I'm not paying for her apartment. Same thing. Like this is all like paid for via scholarship money. So like the stuff that she's getting from us is like car insurance and health insurance and a cell phone bill. That's it. And the rest of it is, all of it's taken care of. But yes, it is still like we have this whole, me, my wife, and my kids. It's like we ask them to do some things around the house as part of their like, hey, look, you're part of this little collective, and it works there. And even then, it's strained. That was my point of bringing that up, is that like we're still having these arguments, and we all love each other, and we live together, and like that's my daughter, and we're still having like these squabbles over like money and what belongs to who and everything. Is like, well, technically, like none of this shit belongs to you anyway, except for maybe some of what you get from your job that you do, because you're not. But I must remind you, you're not paying me for a lot of the stuff that you're partaking in, like vacations and all this other stuff that we do. So, what I was getting at is that when you start to scale that up, even when you get to like extended family, how many times has your extended family fucked you over on some stuff that like they owed you something, you did something, they didn't reciprocate like they said they would, or whatever it is, it starts to break down. And then like, how do you hold people accountable for that stuff? Oh, well, guess what? The bigger it gets, the more you're going to rely on some sort of centralized police authority and enforcement mechanism. And
because
then
there are no agreements, because you have no formal agreements that you all are going to work on this same plan. And until you do, then it's not necessarily a commune, right? Like you said, in scale. That's why I always say, that's one of the, I don't know what revelation gave me this, but that socialism only works in very small units.
Absolutely.
And free markets work regardless of scale, because even in those little collectives, there's still an element of free market to it, because it's still this voluntary mutual agreement of cooperation. And as soon as that starts to break down, voluntary association takes over, and you say, fuck you, I'm not dealing with you anymore because I don't trust you, because you welch on all your deals.
Okay, interesting.
And it crumbles really quickly. So
we need to let Marty go. And
go ahead.
But I want you to plug everything that you have. Chad's got links down below, but plug anyway.
Here what I'm gonna do. Well, here I'll just do this. I'm gonna put my. You guys can figure out how to put this in the chat or how to put this somewhere. But here's my link tree that gets to my YouTube channel. My
yeah, your link tree is in the description.
Oh, it is. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
That
put that in this morning.
That gets you my YouTube channel, Instagram, pretty much. Well, not everything, but if you need to find me on some social media that you don't know if I'm there or not, just put in P Dawg Knight because I'm the only one. For now, at least. I have markers on Gab, Minds, Cloud Hub, Parlor, Getter, all that shit, everything but Truth Social. I don't know why I've never done that, but I do have an Odyssey channel, Rumble, YouTube, do a weekly show or a weekday show, Monday through Friday, the Morning Night Live, 10 o'clock Eastern, where basically it's news and current events. Usually try to catch all the breaking news in the morning before everybody else talks about it. And so I kind of think of myself as a human aggregator of what's happening what people are going to be talking about. Because usually if I find stuff in the morning, somebody's talking about it the next day or have written about it the next day. So that's what I try to do. Sometimes I get stuff that was a couple days old, depending on how spicy it is. But anyway, I'm not real spicy. Someone said that I'm kind of just a light, gentle purveyor of news. Although I've had a couple rants over the last couple of days that got me to swear. And I am a purveyor of cursey words occasionally, as you may have noticed. But
I don't do that. My mom came on.
Do that shit either.
Yeah, my mom texted me during the stream last night. And she told me, "I'm gonna have to bring a bar of soap to Thanksgiving dinner to wash your mouth out." I was like, "Oh my gosh, Mom, you were watching this?" What? I didn't even tell her I was going to be on there, and it wasn't on my channel or anything. Like, how did you find me? But she did find me. She did.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh my gosh, let's get rid of this fool.
You can just check me out though in the links in my link tree. There has and my story from GQ's in there. My appearance on Good Morning America's in there. If you haven't seen that, it's all in the link tree. So that's a whole other topic.
So excellent.
Go check him out. And again, he's not an anarchist yet, but but he's on his way, and he's definitely an ally.
I absolutely believe in freedom.
See, I told you he was an anarchist. I mean,
we don't care what you call yourself, as long as you believe in freedom and like letting people do what they want to do, as long as they're not harming anybody.
Exactly.
If that's what we're all about, we're on the same sheet of music, and we're going to be good. So anyway, Marty, we appreciate it very much. And I know we're not going to know what really happened last night for about a week, but I don't know. Hopefully everybody can survive the whimpering red wave that may or may not have happened.
The red leaky faucet.
The red leaky faucet.
That's what it is. It's like the precursor to carry. Why is that faucet leaking blood?
Oh gosh, Eesh.
That's awful.
Yeah.
All
and
right,
with that,
everybody stay free.
Peace, y'all.
Awesome.
Thank you, Marty.